She earned KSH 80,000, but where did it go? On the morning her salary came in, she smiled at her phone. KSH 80,000. She looked at the number twice. Then she whispered, Alhamdulillah. She had worked hard for that money. She had a good job. She wasn't struggling to pay rent. She wasn't living in a poor neighborhood. She wasn't someone who bought expensive designer things every week. In fact, if anyone asked her whether she was good with money, she would probably say yes. She didn't gamble. She didn't drink excessively. She wasn't someone who lived an extravagant lifestyle. She wasn't drowning in debt. So why, every single month, did she reach the last week wondering where her money had gone? This month, she promised herself, things would be different. She opened her banking app. 80,000 shillings. She transferred her rent immediately. 20,000 shillings. Good, she thought. She paid her electricity, water, internet, and other bills. Another 8,000 shillings disappeared. She still had 52,000 shillings. She smiled. I actually have plenty left. And that was where the problem began. She went to work that morning feeling rich. During lunch, her colleagues suggested they order food instead of eating what they had carried from home. Come on, it's Friday. She laughed. Fine. Lunch cost her 200 shillings. She didn't think much about it. On her way home, she stopped at a supermarket. She only needed milk and a few vegetables. But she saw a beautiful handbag. It wasn't expensive. Only 2,800 shillings. She picked it up. I deserve something nice. She bought it. Then she passed the cosmetics section. A body spray, some skincare, a few things she hadn't planned to buy. Nothing was more than a few thousand shillings. But by the time she reached the checkout, she had spent almost 7,000 shillings. She looked at the receipt. It's okay, I still have money. And she did. That was the dangerous part. She always still had money. Until suddenly she didn't. The following weekend, her younger sister called. Please, can you help me with 3,000 shillings? I'll send it back next week. She didn't hesitate. Of course. Then a friend invited her out. Just come, we haven't seen each other in ages. She went. Dinner, drinks, transport, a little shopping afterward. Another 5,500 shillings was gone. She didn't feel irresponsible. She felt like she was enjoying her life. And she was. But she wasn't planning for tomorrow. There was another expense in Mary's life that she had convinced herself was necessary. Her car. Mary had always hated public transportation. The crowded matatus, the waiting, the squeezing between strangers. It frustrated her. So when she got the opportunity to buy a second-hand car, she thought she had finally found the solution. The car wasn't new, and that was actually part of what made her feel smart about the decision. She wasn't trying to show off. She didn't need a brand new car. It was a simple second-hand car, and she could make the payments monthly. So she took a loan and bought it. At first she was thrilled. She could drive herself to work. She could run errands whenever she wanted. And when her friends called her out, she could simply get into her car and go. But the car came with more than the monthly loan payment. There was fuel. There was maintenance. There were parking fees. And there were all those little trips that didn't seem expensive at the time. Sometimes she would take the car to meet friends. They would have coffee, eat out, talk for hours. Then she would drive home. The outings were fun, but the money was disappearing. Eventually, Mary started noticing how much she was spending simply because she had the car. She had taken a loan because she didn't want to use public transportation. But now, the convenience she had wanted was costing her even more. One day, she decided to change the way she used it. She would still drive to work. She would still use the car when she genuinely needed it. But when her friends invited her out, she stopped automatically taking the car. Sometimes she used public transportation. Sometimes she simply didn't go. And surprisingly, she started saving money. That was when something clicked. She realized that saving wasn't always about earning more money. Sometimes it was about giving the money you already had a purpose. She started asking herself one simple question. What job does this money have? That question would change the way she looked at money forever. By the middle of the month, she had already spent more than she expected. She checked her account. Cash 28,400. She frowned. How? She went through the bigger expenses. Rent, bills, food, family, the car loan. Nothing seemed shocking. Then she remembered the little things. The coffee, the lunch, the handbag, the skincare, the delivery fee, the taxi she took because she didn't want to wait for a matatu, the fuel she used for unnecessary trips, the online shopping, The small loan she gave someone. The subscriptions she had forgotten about. The weekend out. The money she kept sending to people because saying no made her uncomfortable. None of them had made her poor. But together, they were quietly eating her salary. A few days later, her car needed servicing. She stared at the mechanic's estimate. KSA 12,000. Her stomach dropped. I don't have that right now. The mechanic looked at her. But you get paid, don't you? She nodded. Yes. Then where does the money go? She didn't have an answer. That question followed her home. Where does my money go? That night, she opened her banking app and decided to do something she had avoided for years. She went through her transactions. One by one, she started writing them down. Rent, bills, food, transport, family, shopping, eating out, subscriptions, beauty, entertainment, impulse purchases, car expenses. She added everything. Then she looked at the total. She had received KSH 80,000. After all her expenses, she had less than KSH 2,000 left. She stared at the notebook. She hadn't traveled abroad. She hadn't renovated her house. She hadn't purchased anything life-changing. She had simply spent money without giving it a plan. For the first time, she understood something. Her problem wasn't that she earned too little. Her problem was that every shilling she earned already had a destination, except she hadn't decided what those destinations should be. Her money was making decisions for her, and she was always reacting. The following month, she tried something completely different. On payday, before she spent a single shilling, she sat down with a notebook. At the top, she wrote, KSH 80,000. Then she gave every part of it a job. Rent, bills, food, transport, family support, personal spending, savings, emergency fund, and money for things she enjoyed. She didn't suddenly become extremely frugal. She didn't decide she would never eat out again. She didn't stop helping her family. She didn't stop buying herself nice things. She simply stopped pretending that the little expenses didn't matter. She gave herself a spending limit. She started cooking more meals at home. She canceled subscriptions she wasn't using. She stopped shopping whenever she was bored. She began asking herself one simple question before buying something. Did I plan for this? If the answer was no, she waited. Sometimes she still bought it. Sometimes she realized she didn't actually want it. And every payday she saved first. Not whatever happened to remain at the end of the month. First, even if it wasn't a huge amount, because she finally understood that saving whatever was left over meant there might never be anything left over. 3 months later, something unexpected happened. Her car needed another repair. She didn't panic. She opened her emergency fund. The money was there. She paid for the repair. And when she drove home that evening, she smiled. Not because she had suddenly become wealthy, but because for the first time, an unexpected expense didn't destroy her entire month. 6 months later, she looked at her savings account. She had built an emergency fund. She had started saving consistently. She had reduced unnecessary spending. And most importantly, she no longer feared checking her bank balance. One evening, her friend asked her, "So what did you do? Did you get a better paying job?" She laughed. "No." "Then how did you suddenly start saving?" She thought for a moment. Then she said, "I stopped asking where my money went." Her friend looked confused. She smiled. "I started telling it where to go." For years, she had thought financial freedom belonged to people who earned huge salaries. She thought that once she earned more, everything would automatically become easier. But she had learned that a bigger income without a plan could simply create bigger spending. And sometimes financial freedom doesn't begin with earning more. Sometimes it begins with paying attention, with knowing what comes in, knowing what goes out, saving before spending, learning to say no, allowing yourself to enjoy your money without allowing every desire to control it, and understanding that small amounts matter, because money rarely disappears in one dramatic moment. Sometimes it disappears quietly. A little here, a little there, one unnecessary purchase, one unplanned meal, one subscription, one favor, one impulse decision, one unnecessary drive, until you wake up one day and wonder, I earned all that money, so where did it go? Mary never forgot the day she first looked at her KSH 80,000 salary and felt rich. Today, she still earns around the same amount, but she no longer feels rich on payday and broke before the month ends. She feels something much better, in control, and perhaps that is where financial freedom really begins. Not when you have millions, not when you earn the biggest salary, but when you finally know where your money is going, before it leaves your hands. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone who might need this reminder.